Have you ever felt like you were meant for something more, but just weren't sure what? That's where our story begins today, in ancient Israel, a time of judges and prophets. The people were restless. They looked at the nations around them, with their powerful kings and grand armies, and they wanted one for themselves. They cried out to God for a king to lead them, to fight their battles, and to make them great. God heard their plea, and through his prophet, he set a plan in motion to choose a man. But it wasn't who anyone expected. Our story centers on two figures: Samuel, a wise and respected prophet who had guided Israel for years, and a young man named Saul. One day, God spoke to Samuel, "Tomorrow, about this time, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you will anoint him to be ruler over my people Israel." The very next day, a young man, described as tall and more handsome than anyone in Israel, was wandering the countryside. His name was Saul. He wasn't on a noble quest or a military campaign. He was just looking for his father's lost donkeys. It was a simple, humble task. He and his servant had been searching for days with no luck. Feeling discouraged, his servant suggested they ask the local seer, the man of God, for help. That man, of course, was Samuel. When Saul approached the old prophet, he had no idea his life was about to change forever. He asked for help finding the lost animals, but Samuel just smiled. He knew this was the man God had chosen. "Don't worry about the donkeys," Samuel told him. "They have been found. But listen, all the desire of Israel is set on you and on your father's house." Saul was baffled. "Me?" he said. "But I am from the smallest tribe of Israel, and my family is the least of all the families in my tribe." He saw himself as insignificant, a simple man from a small town. But Samuel saw what God had planned. He hosted a feast in Saul's honor, and the next morning, he took a flask of oil, poured it over Saul's head, and anointed him. "The Lord has anointed you as ruler over his inheritance," Samuel declared. In that moment, Saul, the farmer's son searching for lost donkeys, was set on the path to becoming the first king of Israel. At first, Saul was everything the people had hoped for. The Spirit of God came upon him powerfully. He was decisive, brave, and a brilliant military leader. He rallied the scattered tribes of Israel, uniting them into a formidable force. He led them to stunning victories against their enemies, like the Ammonites. The people rejoiced. They had their king, a strong and charismatic leader who brought them victory and security. Saul was at the height of his power and popularity. But as we all know, great power comes with great responsibility, and it also brings great tests of character. And it wasn't long before the first cracks in Saul's leadership began to show. The first major test came before a critical battle against the powerful Philistines. Samuel had given Saul a very clear instruction: "Wait for me for 7 days at Gilgal. I will come to you and offer the burnt offerings and sacrifice fellowship offerings." This was a sacred duty, reserved for the prophet. But as the days passed, Samuel was delayed. Saul's army, facing a massive enemy force, grew fearful and started to desert him. Panic set in. Instead of trusting God and waiting as commanded, Saul took matters into his own hands. Fearing he would lose his entire army, he performed the sacrifice himself. And just as he finished, Samuel arrived. The prophet's face was grim. "What have you done?" he asked, his voice heavy with disappointment. Saul tried to explain, blaming the circumstances, the restless soldiers, Samuel's delay. But Samuel cut him off. "You have done a foolish thing," he said. "You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now, your kingdom will not endure." It was a harsh rebuke, a warning that his disobedience had jeopardized his entire dynasty. You would think a lesson like that would stick, but unfortunately for Saul, it didn't. Sometime later, God gave him another direct command through Samuel. Israel's old and brutal enemies, the Amalekites, were to be judged. The command was absolute: go and attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. Saul led his army and they won a decisive victory. But he didn't follow the command completely. He spared Agag, the king of the Amalekites, and he kept the best of the sheep, cattle, and other livestock. His justification? He claimed he saved the best animals to sacrifice them to the Lord. When Samuel came to meet him, Saul greeted him cheerfully, "The Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's command." But Samuel knew otherwise. He could literally hear the evidence. What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear? Saul again made excuses, shifting the blame to his soldiers, saying they were the ones who wanted to keep the animals for a sacrifice. The prophet had heard enough. This was the moment of truth, the breaking point. And Samuel spoke words that would echo through history. Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the voice of the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. The weight of those words finally crushed Saul. All his excuses vanished. He confessed, I have sinned. I violated the Lord's command. I was afraid of the men, and so I gave in to them. He pleaded with Samuel to forgive him and to worship with him, desperate to maintain his public image. But the verdict was final. As Samuel turned to leave, Saul grabbed the hem of his robe, and it tore. Samuel looked at him grimly and said, The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to a neighbor of yours, to one better than you. From that day on, their paths diverged forever. The Spirit of God departed from Saul, leaving him tormented by insecurity and paranoia for the rest of his reign. Samuel mourned for the king he had anointed, the king who had so much promise but had lost his way. The story of Saul and Samuel is a powerful and timeless tragedy. It's a reminder that our choices, especially in moments of pressure, define our character and determine our destiny. It shows how pride, fear, and the desire for human approval can lead even the greatest leaders to a dramatic fall. Ultimately, it teaches us that true leadership, true greatness, doesn't come from a crown or a title, but from a heart that is humble and obedient to a higher calling. It's a profound lesson that what we do is important, but why we do it matters even more. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story meaningful, please like and subscribe for more content just like this.